Thank you, Badi. Can you see this, the picture?
Yes, we can clearly.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank Nadine and Pak Adi for inviting me to share UI experience in managing the university organization in time of disaster. Well, my presentation is certainly very different from the presentation of Don and Johnny. You know, both of you talk about pandemic, but this one is a different thread. It's about our experience in managing universities during the disaster, volcanic eruptions in 2010. Some of the material actually I've already shared during the kickoff meeting of BUiLD, but I modified it. So because I see that the participants of this webinar is coming from outside the BUiLD network. So I'd like to talk about three things. This is really focused on, maybe I can say that this is like an auto-ethnography approach of looking at the disaster. So this is, I use a case study of UII. Hopefully from that case study, we can learn what is universal, what is the experience can be adopted by other leaders of universities. So I will start with introducing UI campus. Then I'm going to talk about the eruptions of Merapi in 2010. Then the aftermath. What future strategies that we might set, right, to respond to the disaster, right? Right. This is the main campus of UII. If you look at this, the pictures, the area of this campus is approximately 40 hectares. UII was established in 1945 in Jakarta and then moved to Jogja in 1947. And this site is quite new, right? It was set in 1990. And if you see this map, the location is quite close to Mount Merapi. I have already put the red dot. We have 5 campuses across the province of Yogyakarta, mainly in Sleman Regency. Jogja is, for those who are not familiar to Jogja, Jogja is a kingdom divided by 4 regencies and 1 capital, right? So our university are located in one of the regency called Sleman, right? The main campus is just, if you look at this, if I remove the pictures, right? So you see the, one moment, let me just move down the, okay. You can see the clearer pictures of distance between the volcano and the main campus. You may wonder why we choose that locations to build our main campus, right? So previously, we only have 4 campuses, right? And then we have a plan of integrating the whole departments physically, right? So we purchase a land, we try to look for alternative of locations before we set up the site, right? Before we I would say, do the land acquisition, right? You may wonder why we choose the location close to this volcano. It's because actually part of the government recommendations at that time that we should choose the location that agriculturally unproductive, and that's we finally choose that area. So it's actually part of the government recommendations. So we realized that the location is quite close to the, if you look at the map, it's like only 16 kilometers from the crater, right? Not even from the slope, but from the crater of Mount Merapi, right? And we realized that Merapi is the most active volcano in Indonesia. And if you maybe read the information in this year only, 2020, there has been 10 eruptions recorded, right? This year only, right? Small eruptions, right? But what I'm going to talk is the major eruptions. It's in exactly 10 years ago. I think it was, if my colleagues from Jogja may recall the memory, it was in October 2010, right? Just to look at the profile of this volcano, it's a stratovolcano, and it's periodically erupted. I think the very big eruption was 1,000 years ago, and the eruption buried temples and settlements around the volcano. Let me just later on I'll show you the temple in our campus. In 2009, we discovered a temple, a Hindu temple in our campus, and it was actually buried by the volcanic activity in the past, right? And we decided to excavate that. We work with the governments, and part of the reason is actually to show to the public not only that we pay attention to the value of heritage building, but also to show the public that this is the you need to prepare for the disaster, right? So it's a part of the communications that we convey to the public, that this temple shows the impact of volcanic eruptions. Okay, 2006 we also experienced eruptions at the same time of the earthquake. That earthquake killed around 6,000 people, mostly in Jogja. And then 2010, the case that I'm going to talk about is, I think it was considered as the largest in the past 200 years. And it killed 367 people. Right, so this is as I mentioned to you, this is the temple that now become part of the landscape of our library. But previously it was buried as a result of volcanic eruptions. There's more temples, but we did not, like the archaeologists said that we don't need to dig more. It's enough to just reveal those two to show the treasure, and also as well as the impact of the disaster. So this is not easy, this decision. It takes a strong leadership, because we are Islamic university. There's a Hindu temples, right? There's a controversy between that, right? But when we choose to forget that controversy, and then we see, we treat them as a heritage building, and the public are allowed to come in, especially during we open it especially during the graduation ceremony. Right, so let me focus on 2010 eruptions. It was started in October, and it was no warning from the authority. So really, it was like a shock, right? So at that time, then the university leader, the rector, formed a task force to anticipate, war situations. But by the end of October, the activity sharply increased, and the authorities set up a kind of a danger zone with a radius of 7 kilometers from the crater. So we're still safe, right? In fact, we also help the victim or those who must get out from those danger zone. We host them in the this sport hall, right? The sport hall. The left pictures is actually, it was I took it, I think, from my house, right? And this is a common scene at that time, almost every day, from October to November 2010, right? So yeah, so we look after this refugee, but not all of them are willing to move out, right? Some of them believe that, well, maybe the eruption is not going to get worse, right? This is also part of the challenge of a leader in time of disaster, I think. You know, graduation ceremony amid the ongoing eruptions. It's not an easy decision to make, but we have to do that. We work also with the government. I mean, like, we monitor, of course, the volcanic activity, and then so when we feel that it's still okay, because the danger zone is not yet reached our campus, right? So we believe on that, right? So then we organize this, right? And I'm glad we were safe at the time. But we also found a very sad news at that time. This, I think many of Indonesians know this person, Mbah Marijan, is a local spiritual guard of Merapi. He refused to be evacuated. You know, he lived, of course, within the danger zone at that time. So he passed away because of the pyroclastic cloud that hit his neighborhood, right? And because his son is part of our, I mean, his son is our staff, right? So we also take care of the funeral processions at that time in our campus. Now, we found that the first week of November, the situation is getting worse. We saw a larger scale of eruptions, and the authority increased the danger zone to 20 kilometers. That means that we have to shut down our campus. And that needs a very, I mean, a strong leadership. I mean, like, you know, we shut down our campus, and then we have to vacate it and then move the activity outside the campus, right? Even myself, I had to move out from my house. So I was a refugee for a month at that time, right? So, so our campus has to be vacated, including the refugee that we host inside the sport hall, right? So we work with the governments, and we move the refugee to the government sport facilities in the city, right? So, you know, collaborations, I think, you know, the previous speakers talk about collaboration. This is something that you strongly need in time of disaster, right? This is the situations. So I occasionally did an observations. So it's deserted campus. The second pictures is our bus, you know, very dirty because of volcanic ash. We use that to move the refugee to different locations. And the very difficult decision is to move all the main campus activity to the other 4 campuses, right? So it's really challenging because we have to quickly map our assets and then to see how it fits to the to host the activity, academic activity. Because we didn't know at the time how long the eruptions is going to last, right? And also, we moved the university headquarters, right? This is really, this is a temporary rectorate office in a different campus, right? So all the management, all the dean that belong to the main campus, they work in this this office together, right? So yeah, I'm glad. I was glad that I think mid of November or end of November. I didn't remember. This is a part of the problem that we didn't have a good record, right? It was end of November, if I'm not mistaken. The eruption stopped, right? And then we could gradually come back to the campus. But our team is still working with the people. Like, for instance, this one, we have a psychological team that work with people for trauma healing during the rehabilitations, right? And also our medical team also work. Our architecture team also work with the reconstruction of the devastated housing. Right, so, and then beyond this disaster Merapi, we also, you know, quite active in, as many other universities, to support the victim of disaster across Indonesia. This is an example of how we did a crowdfunding during the Palu and Donggala earthquake. And also, we also sent a medical team in the Palu earthquake some couple of years ago, right? So, what lesson learned? What lesson can we learn from the experience? I think the first is, for us, we see that people are easy to forget the disaster. You know, if I look at the everyday life in Jogja, people look like that they don't remember. It was there was a major disaster that happened 10 years ago, right? So I think we could actually transform the disaster task force to a more permanent within university, so that they can do a kind of awareness training, continuous training in disaster preparedness. That's because disaster preparedness is really a problem here in many universities in Indonesia. And I'm glad that we joined the BUiLD network, because then we can learn from each other to develop the curriculum that I would say increase the awareness of both the students and lecturers, because through educations we can you know, gradually, I mean, like, we can change the mindset of the people through students, right? Then funding allocated for disaster preparedness. I see that if you look at the university budget, I think the funding allocated for disaster preparedness is really not significant, right? For training, for instance. So this is the lesson learned, that we in the future we need to do that, right? And also for us, especially for those who live near the I would say the disasters in disaster-prone area, you need to map the physical assets as part of the disaster preparedness. I guess that's all. Thank you very much, and back to you, Pak Adi.
Thank you, Pak Win.